All right, what's up, everybody? This is kind of what I'm playing around with right now in TCG. This is a super fun, like, Despia. I call this Despia Link, because a lot of Despia decks you're playing only like 15 fusions. But I actually made space for 5 Link monsters in this. The only kind of conflict is like branded opening, which says after you use it, you can only summon fusions for the rest of the turn. But I kind of have been playing this kind of like how you play Nadir Servant. Like you always use the Nadir after you've already fusioned, because that locks you out of the extra deck. So you just have to kind of link first and then play the branded opening, and then after that play the Nadir Servant. So that's the only real limitation that happens from the links. And a lot of the time, you're not really going into the links on the first turn unless you're summoning maybe like Dark if they already have like DPE in their grave. A lot of the time, you're going into the links on like the follow-up turn because you can just get a lot of resources, just like, or a lot of like disruption, a lot of stuff out of nowhere out of links. And links are just like super powerful. So it's kind of what we're playing right now. I'll just go through the deck real quick. For the Despias, we're playing 3 Aluber, Jester of Despia, Obvious, 3 Despian Tragedy, and 1 Dramaturge of Despia. The 3 Tragedy going up to this, this is just because it's a fusion deck. It's such a good material to fuse with, and then we can just normal summon it, make the Relinquished Anima, and that turns this into like just a good normal summon, because then we can just like take a monster, and then we have a Link monster. We can start doing things right away. So yeah, that I like those 7 Despia cards. We're not playing ad libitum because it's a brick, and we want everything to kind of at least have some kind of use in the opening hand, especially since we're like playing the shaddolls. Shaddoll package, we're playing 5 shaddolls, 1 of all of the good ones. We're playing 1 Ariel, 1 Wendy, 1 Beast, 1 Dragon, 1 Hedgehog. All of these have a lot of different uses, and you can use them in different orders. Like the Ariel can hit stuff out of the grave, which is so good, but then also we can set it to bring back shaddolls that we've already banished off Schism. With Wendy, we can set the Beast or set the Hedgehog depending on what we need. Dragon, we can pop things like these. Shaddolls are really good, and you want to kind of keep the Shaddoll engine small so that you can get access to the Shaddoll cards, but then also at the same time be able to, you know, not brick drawing a bunch of Shaddolls. And the only Shaddoll spell we're playing is Shaddoll Fusion, because ideally, if we're going second, or if it's the following turn, they have an extra deck monster, we can just Shaddoll Fusion, send stuff to the grave, and so we can get a lot of value out of this. This deck will probably change a ton in April when Branded Fusion comes out, but I still really like Despia, and I want to play Despia even though Branded Fusion is not legal in the TCG yet. So we're making it work. We're trying new things. We're experimenting. We're playing 3 Dangers. I think Dangers are kind of like the glue that really hold a lot of this deck together, because they can just let you cycle through the deck. They improve consistency, but they also become bodies on the field that allow you to link off. Also, when they're discarded, they get effects, so that includes being discarded for Super Poly or being discarded for Branded Opening, so you can still get bodies on the field, while at the same time improving the consistency of the deck. And then when cards that are discarded out of your hand with the Dangers or stuff like Tragedy or one of the Shaddolls, you can then trigger those effects. So a lot of synergy here. For hand traps, we're playing 7. It's going to be 2 Veiler, 2 Ghost Ogre, Snow Rabbit, and then 3 Infinite Impermanence. This is the ratio I kind of like. Effect negation is really powerful this format, and Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is both a light, which we need for fusions, and also really good against the Brave engine. We can hit both the continuous spell and also the Griffin, which are pretty important. It also has other applications in different matchups, but right now I like maining the 2 Ghost Ogre. And then, so getting into, that's it for the monster. Well, that's not it for the monsters. We are playing 1 Ecclesia and 1 Dogmatica Fleur de Lis the Knighted. What's up? See you later.
Bye-bye.
The Dogmatica engine is pretty important because Nadir Servant is going to be how we're going to search Shaddoll Schism, so we just get additional value out of finding the Ecclesia and the Fleur de Lis with that. And then we also have the Fallen of Albaz. This is like super poly on legs. It's not the worst thing ever if we draw it, but it's mainly there so that we can get follow-up on Despian Queritus once we summon it. When they remove it, we can get out the Queritus, and then the Queritus can then fuse with their monster to make Titanclad. We're not really ever sending Titanclad with Nadir Servant. Titanclad is there specifically for the Albaz so that we can like get a lot of value out of that, and then we can, once the Albaz is in the grave, we can get an additional summon out of it using Branded in red. We aren't playing Albion. I think Albion is really important once Branded Fusion exists as a card, but for now I think there's more important stuff, and I think Starving Venom's pretty important. We can fuse with that with Albaz. I think Starving Venom and Titanclad. If I had space, I would probably want to include Albion as well, just as an extra option. But it's going to be more likely that we're going to fuse with an opponent's Dark Monster and go into Starving Venom than fuse with their Light Monster and go into Albion. But I think Albion is still a very good card, and when Branded Fusion comes out, we're definitely going to be playing that. Yeah, for the spells, Foolish is super important because if we have, if we need to get into the shaddolls, it gets us into the shaddolls. If we need to get into the Despias, it gets us into the Despias. And then we have Branded Opening, which is just like our starter. We discard a shaddoll, we get into Despia, we can discard a danger, get a body, get into like just a bunch of different stuff. Branded Opening, super, super powerful. Branded in red, this is like our main fusion spell. If we open this in Tragedy, we can Tragedy, go into the Anima, and then Branded in red, and then make a fusion monster from there, which is really good. It's also just good to set and then go into fusion monsters on their turn after they like target your monsters. A lot of times I like having the Dramaturge of Despia, getting my negate out of the Dramaturge of Despia, and then once they like try and go into battle phase or something, then I go and I link into, I fuse into something more powerful, maybe a Chimera on their turn. The Chimera on their turn is like so strong. So I'll get into the extra deck in just a second because Chimera is a big part of it. That's the main thing that kind of changed the whole deck around, is just having the option of Chimera. I'll talk about Chimera in a sec. We're playing one Called By just to out hand traps, 2 Nadir Servant, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, just get max value, and then for our other cards, we got the 1 regular Polymerization. This is here because it's helpful in kind of weird hands. It's nice to have a fusion spell that can make a Despia or can make a Shaddoll, just to have that extra choice. But also, once we use the Polymerization, if we make the Chimera can't be targeted if the Polymerization's in our grave. I don't really like playing like the Patchwork kind of engine where you play like 2 Super Poly and the 2 Edge Imp chains. I just think when you open multiple pieces of the Patchwork, they become kind of bricks, and the Patchwork doesn't get you like a whole bunch other than just 1 additional card when you fusion, and the additional card isn't always the most helpful. Like once you fusion, you don't really want to find another Polymerization or a card that gets you another Polymerization. When you fusion, you want to get a card that gets you deeper into the engines. That's why we're maxing out Tragedy, because using this for a fusion is way better because it gets us a Despia monster, or the Shaddolls, because using this for a fusion material gets you into the Shaddoll engine, which is just so good. Of course, playing the and then 1 Super Poly. I would like to maybe play more Super Polys, but there's just certain matchups where it's not super helpful because extract space is really tight because of all the link monsters we're playing. We don't have room for a Mud Dragon of the Swamp, which Mud Dragon of the Swamp is kind of what makes Super Poly useful in almost every matchup, but the 1 Super Poly is there. It's good with Verte Anaconda, and also it's just a powerful card, but we usually don't want to see 2 of it, and a lot of times we're only able to take the opponent's monsters. Well, we're only able to take the opponent's monsters if they're playing lights or darks, with the exception of Titanclad, but in the case of Titanclad, we already have the like Fallen of Albaz. So I like 1 Super Poly for now, and then 1 of the field spell, which is like a Polymerization. So these 3, we have 1 each of like kind of utility Polymerization cards. Right now, I like these cards as 1-ofs. I like having the 1 Super Poly, even because discarding the dangers, we can get the effect, and then also I've already said the Predaplant, but it's kind of the main thinking behind Super Poly. And then 3 Imperms for the traps, and then Shaddoll Schism, best card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! We are playing the 1 Schism because we can just get that repeating value out of the Shaddoll stuff. For the extra, we're playing 1 Queritus and 2 Masquerade. Those are our Despias. The Masquerade, getting 1 on the first turn can just burn the opponent for a lot, and then the second Masquerade can be really good to then like really limit like the opponent's choices. They have to really think, like late game, if they're low on health, they can only activate like 3 cards before it's the end of the game. So it's really, really good to just put them in that like lockdown situation where they have to think about how many cards they use. And then Quertus is really strong because we summon it, and then if they get out it, then we get into Albaz, which can get us into another monster, either Starving Venom or Titanclad. I've already talked about how I'm playing these two and not Albion. I think both of these are more useful than Albion, but if I did have the space, I would also play Albion as well. For the shaddolls, we're playing 2 Apcalone, I would like to, honestly, I would like to play 2 of all of these, but Apcalone is the most essential because we are using the first Apcalone to send off of Nadir Servant, so we need that second Apcalone to be able to summon it. Winda, make this off Shaddolls, off Shaddoll Schism. A lot of time it's a lockdown, and then Construct is just another option we can go into that gets us a Shaddoll out of our deck. Oh, I just got rid of the Construct. What happened? I didn't mean to click on it. Construct. Okay, sweet, sweet, sweet. And then we are playing the Garden Chimera, which is just such a big like, power card. Oh my god, like the Chimera is awesome. If we can like get into it, a lot of this deck. That's kind of the reason why I have like Despia and then 3 monsters, and we could just make the Chimera and pop their fields. We can make it with polymerization, but I really like setting the branded in red and then making it on their turn to interrupt, pop things, draw cards. Like Chimera is just so powerful. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. And then for the Link monsters, Link 1, we got Relinquish Anima. I've already explained that. Link 2, Predaplant Verte. This gets us into fusion stuff. I think it's pretty obvious. The Dark Charmer Gloomy. This card is awesome. It is so good. It can basically, it turns like any Link 2 into a Link 3, so it's really good for like linking up, but you can also take really good dark monsters out of the opponent's grave. Destiny, Hero, Phoenix, Enforcer is everywhere a lot of time. You can bait it pretty early on. It gets sent to the grave. Dark, take their DPE, and then pass into the after their standby phase, they can only summon back either the Celestial or the other thing, and then their DP effect is like over, right? You can like later link it off or use it as fusion material. Just there's a lot of ways. Just taking away their DPE helps you so much. And then for the Link 3, Nightmare Unicorn, we can take a dark and then link up. This is good just for like link climbing. And then finally we have Boral Sword Dragon. I chose to play Boral Sword Dragon here as the Link 4 instead of Access Code Talker. The main reason is just because every single one of our Link monsters are dark. These 4 Link monsters I think are the most essential that help us the most in Despia. So because they're all dark, we're only realistically going to get 1 pop out of access code, and the main reason we would want to summon access code is if we're just going for like damage, right? And going for damage is like really important in Despia, and that's the thing that you're going to get out of links that you can't really get out of fusions, because usually you'll have 1 or 2 fusions that's doing something good, but then being able to get that additional like Link 4 to go for damage is what's going to let you like push for game. And when it comes to pushing for game and going for damage, Boral Sword Dragon is the card. So we are playing Boral Sword instead of Access Code Talker, but I think that is correct right now, and just the way I have this build. Side deck, my side deck is just kind of like a generic side deck that I've been using for Despia for like a while. So the one thing I changed from like last time, I was playing I'm playing 3 Droll and Lockbirds instead of like Danko Sekkas. I think that just depends on like matchups. If you plan on running into a lot of trap decks, I think Danko Sekka's better. If you're running into a lot of combo decks, I think Droll and Lockbird's better. So this is just kind of generic side deck. We got the back row Hated Twin Twisters. Dimensional Barrier is really good going first against a lot of things. So if like we're going first against Sword Soul, we're going first against like Fusion Mirror. I think this card's just super good. And then our going second card, Evenly is always good. It's good against back row. It's good against most combo decks. And then Artifact Lancia is super important, especially against Phantom Knights. So Artifact Lancia is kind of a big piece, so kind of generic side deck. Anyway, so this is what I'm playing in TCG. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile.